Adam, I see that you found my Walker Texas Ranger episode. Um, there's
Master
there's
Oliver, the movie star.
there's a funny story about that. The What it was is I was sitting down with Chuck Norris and Lloyd Ford, who was the director of Kick Drugs Out of America at the time, now Kickstart. And I believe Ed Sines may have been there as well. You know him, Master Smith, as
Yeah.
well. Um, but Ed may have been there. And what we were doing is we were brainstorming because I had connected them with Educational Funding Company. And what we were doing every year, we were doing a fundraiser for Kick Drugs Out of America through the EFC schools. And then the deal was they'd have their convention, and Chuck Norris's deal at the time was he'd come and collect the check if somebody raised 50,000 or more. Um, and EFC had a pretty good collection of schools at the time, so I think that particular year it's like 168,000 or something like that. Um, but we were brainstorming on, what's something that could be done to get everybody motivated. And one of the things that we had come up with, I think it may have been my idea too, was we did black belt where there were, Chuck Norris signed, numbered in a little plexiglass container. So, or, display case. So if they raised, I think, more than $500, they got the Chuck Norris signed belt. I have the first one of those sitting in my office. But every year we tried to come up with something. One year it was I did the Chuck Norris advertising craze, but took my ad, put Chuck Norris's face in, and branded it from Chuck. But if they raised a certain amount of money, they could use Chuck in the advertisement. We were trying to get an infomercial done, but he wasn't willing to commit that much time. But in this little brainstorming session, I said, well, it seems to me that every one of these guys want to be you. They want to be the karate action star, they can see themselves on screen, kicking and punching the next guy. I don't know if it'd be possible, but why don't you give them like a guest shot, or, have them be an extra, or whatever you would be willing to do on Walker. And we could have, I think it was the same year, the black belt over $500, and they could be on the set of Walker if they raised, maybe the top fundraiser if they did it, and they liked the idea, so they said, okay, whoever raises the most money will do a guest spot on Walker. So lo and behold, I have this frame, in my desk as well, but I think we raised 168,000, but of the 168,000, I forget, 15 or 20% of the total. And, I was number one, and number two was like a quarter of what I had raised. And so we're presenting the big check and all that stuff at the convention. And Chuck says, well, you won. So you've got to talk to the casting director and send her your photo and one thing or another. I said, I don't want to be movie TV star. I was just talking about those guys that, I don't need to do that. Don't worry about it. And he goes, no, that was the deal. You have to do it. So, finally I send the photo to the casting person. And not long after that, I get a call from her, and she says, we got a role for you. And they filmed Walker in Dallas. And I said, okay, well, what is it? They said, we're going to do a hospital scene, and you're perfect for the surgeon. He comes in and talks to the surgeon, one thing or another. You'll be dressed like a doctor and so forth. And I said, let's say no on that. Just, there's all these working, starving actors. Give it to somebody who's looking for an acting role. And she said, well, Chuck really wants you on the show. I said, look, how about this? If you have like a karate thing that goes on, and I can be in uniform and stuff on the set, then call me if it's a good fit. And if not, don't worry about it. Give it to, some actor who's looking for an acting job. And not long after that, they had these Sons of Thunder episodes where it was this private detective and his younger brother, and they were both supposed to be karate people. And they were shooting this big karate tournament, supposed to be the Texas State Championships. And she calls me and says, you're the Pat Johnson role from Karate Kid. I said, what's that? You're the center referee running the climactic fight. You're wear your uniform, everything else. And finally, I said, well, okay. Can I bring my mother? She'd love to meet Chuck. Yeah, 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 yeah. Bring, And so I flew to Tulsa, brought my mother, drove down so she could meet Chuck, and I get on set, and the first person I see on set is Ed Sines, and Ed goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, they wanted me to come do this thing." He immediately goes over to the director and says, "This guy runs one of the biggest karate tournaments in the country. He's now in charge." So I walk on set, and now suddenly I'm running this karate tournament, fake karate tournament for the show, but I'm running this karate tournament. So every scene is, would they really be wearing this? Yes. What would they be doing? One thing or another. And then I end up helping Ed and I choreograph the fight. And the kid that was the star didn't know any karate. So we had to make him look like he knew something. And the other kid was one of their kickstart kids. So he was pretty good. So we're trying to get the star to win the fight who doesn't know anything. And then I do the center, the center referee gig. And so we go to shoot the center referee deal. And the first thing that happens is a gaffer comes over and he's taping over all the patches on the uniform.
And
And it
all the
was a
Mile
black,
High logos.
all the Mile High logos and
That's his
everything.
aggressive marketing 301.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? He goes, well, with that, won't let us have all those logos. I said, well, you know, UFAP is up there and Kickstart, Kick Drugs Out Americans. And he goes, you're not going to get it. You're not going to win that fight. That's Chuck stuff. But, CBS isn't going to let you get away with that. Okay, fine. So they tape over all the patches. So marketing number one goes away. And so now I'm running the match, that we've choreographed and, running like a real center referee and so forth. And I hear the director and some other guy are whispering, beside me, and I hear SAG. And I say, what's going on? And he looks at me and goes, you don't by any chance have a SAG card, do you? I
Can't show
said,
your
no.
face.
I said, no, I don't have a SAG card. I don't want to be an actor. And he says, well, the rule is if you'd really talk this much during the thing, we can either show your face or you can keep talking and we can hear your voice, but we can't show your face and hear your voice. So now the whole the whole thing, instead of like Pat Johnson, who had a SAG card, is it shot from the back. And so I'm running the thing and you see the back of this guy with a black uniform. And I thought, oh, well, that's okay. We can still make a big deal about it. So I go back to the schools. I find out when it's going to air. And in all the schools, we tell everybody Master Oliver's going to be on Walker, Texas Ranger. And, this Saturday night, one thing or another. And then we turn on, and Walker, Texas Ranger in Colorado was preempted for the high school basketball championships. So it never showed. Probably the rerun showed, but it didn't show in Colorado at all because they had preempted it for the high school basketball championship. So but then, a couple of weeks later, I opened the mail and I got paid for being a stunt coordinator. I got paid for, stunt coordinator stunts. Basically, I got paid for running the tournament and I got paid for choreographing the fight. And then I got paid for my little bit part, which I didn't expect to get paid at all. So I was like, oh, I didn't know they were going to send me money. Wasn't much, but it was entertaining.
Yeah, I heard.
So
I
that's
heard the
my,
reason they showed your back is because they didn't have enough makeup to make you look good enough to have the face on there.
is that it?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. But so there's my bit part on Walker, Texas Ranger story, and it all came because of an otherwise what I thought was brilliant idea backfired on me because I won the thing that we were giving away.
Hey, at least your mother got to meet Chuck Norris, so you were the good son.
She did, yeah, yeah, and that's when Howard was still alive. So Howard was there with Chuck. He was kind of body man / bodyguard. Not like he needed a bodyguard on the set, but body man. So Howard was there and Chuck and so the whole team. Anyway, we'll call it a day. Hopefully that was entertaining. Not quite as glamorous as your role, Sherry. But it was entertaining
Yeah,
nonetheless.
Sherry, tell everybody about real quick about your last role you did.
Oh, I was a hooker
Boy,
in
you're going to get an
Jason
Oscar.
Momoa as
You're
the
going to get an
wrecking.
Oscar for that one. And who was the star there? You got to
His
rub
name's
shoulders.
his name's J Jason Momoa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody knows Jason Momoa. Yeah, that's a
exactly.
great one.
Okay. Yeah, and you were wonderful in it. I enjoyed the movie.